Funky Politics.
Welcome back to the funkiest political show on the planet. That's right, y'all. The Funky Politics. I am the DC, sitting here along with the Doc Ward. Dr. Ward, sir.
Funky Politics.
Yes, sir.
We put the rhythm in your blues. Let us be the one you choose. We guarantee you'll never lose. We keep you up so you won't snooze. I could do this all day. All day. But I'm going to stop.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
Nah, man, because we got to talk about some real serious stuff.
Ooh, everything is
serious. We got serious stuff.
You know what I tell people all the time right now, and I know, folks, it's strange. It's a new normal that's happening in our country and in our world.
New normal.
A new normal. I mean, the fact of
normal.
The local bars, they're no longer open for you to go and sit and socialize.
No.
The restaurants no longer for you to sit and socialize and eat. Just even, in some cases, walking in your neighborhoods is not allowed anymore now.
Right.
But you know, it takes some getting used to, man. I ain't used to this yet, man. I'm a social guy. I like to be out, kicking it, having a drink, getting something to eat, hanging out with friends, you know, maybe the river if I'd like to, but I'm not a big river person anyway, but I'd like to be able to go down there and congregate with everybody.
Shall we gather at the river?
No, I don't.
Hell no.
Not at this point, unless you want to go wash yourself down in Jordan River.
I ain't washing myself in nothing in the river, especially the Mississippi River.
Oh, Lord, not the Mississippi.
But it is a new normal. We're doing things differently. We gather differently. We congregate differently.
That's right.
We worship differently. We socialize differently.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's just going to be one of those things we're going to have to figure out what we do and how we do it. Not just differently, but better.
How long will this take, Doc? I know I'm asking you to go into your crystal ball that you got tucked away in your closet somewhere, your secret closet. Tell the American people out there in the world, how long will this last?
Oh, don't worry about it. I can tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Right.
And everybody listen to me because I do know. That's one thing that I do know. I know how long it's going to last.
How long?
It's going to last. And listen up, y'all. This situation is going to last until it's over.
Until it's over.
It's going to last until it's over. And I say that.
What do you mean? The
it's going to last. It's going to last until this virus subsides to a point, and we know enough about it to a point to where we can treat it effectively, and it does not have as much of a serious health effect on those that contract it. Now, listen.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening.
And for all of you out there that are trying to put government leaders, and this is Funky Politics.
Gotta be.
And all you government leaders and other officials that are trying to put dates and times on this thing, my suggestion to you would be, instead of trying to prescribe a calendric date to it, a calendar date to it.
Well, look at you, calendric. Well, you
instead of trying to put a date on it, why not put a situational end to it? We will be able to go back to normal once we find that less than 2% of the world population is affected by this virus, to the point to where it is subsided to a point to where we have a treatment in place and that less than 2% is affected. When that happens, that will be the barometer by which we gauge going back to work. Don't put a calendar date on it. Calendars were made by man.
Sure they were, but that's how we operate, though. You're asking those of us who've been around.
But that's not how coronavirus operates. It operates irrespective of any of the institutions that we have put in place, including time.
The new normal.
So instead of trying to put this on a time factor so you can get back to your life, which probably wasn't all that great to begin with.
No, wait a minute. The economic stimulus now is on the way, and that's going to make my life better.
But once again, that's all man-made stuff.
$1,200, Doc.
You know what? Coronavirus don't care nothing about no stimulus. Because even though you got $2 trillion, we really will need $10 trillion by the time it's all said and done.
Oh, don't say that now.
You got to look at it this way. What we're getting is based on the timetable that the officials and folks on Wall Street are saying that this virus would have an effect. They have no idea when all of this is going to subside.
Kevin McCarthy the other day said, this is the minority leader of the House, Republican, said out of California, he said that let's not talk about a fourth phase of a stimulus right now. Let's allow the first three phases to take effect and get the economy back on some kind of sound footing. I would say to Congressman McCarthy, sir, start planning the fourth stimulus. I'm kind of like you.
Yeah.
If you think $2 trillion plus $3 billion, I think the first one, $1 billion, then $8 billion is going to handle half of this woe that we got right now, sir. 3.3 million people filed unemployment claims on a week ago. This Thursday, if another 3 to 5 million apply, we're no longer in a recession. We're headed towards something that we have never seen in our economic forecast since what? The fall of the stock market back in the early 1900s.
You mean
Trust me.
1929?
Yeah, you don't want this.
I don't think we're necessarily headed toward a depression just because of what's going on now. But as I say all the time and in every episode, and we'll continue to say, we have to address the health aspects of what's going on first. It's the only way that we're going to be able to determine when people are going to get back to work in any scale, on any scale like what we've had before, so that we can start making the real predictions on what it's going to take to get the economy going.
So if you say that, if that's the premise, then why are businesses out there that are open that it apparently, I would say, have no relevance at all to what I would consider to be essential? And this is just not in Memphis, Tennessee. It's all over the country. So there is an economic drive we have to keep churning in this country. You can't cut off the supply chain. Because you cut off the supply chain, guess what you got now?
That's not what I'm saying.
No, you're talking about the health.
I'm not saying, no.
I understand that.
I'm not saying stop looking at money, even though there have been some suggestions, at least from the markets, that we take time off and we take holidays from having to pay rent and having to pay expenses. But what I am saying is that we have to do everything acknowledging the health aspect first.
Chewing bubble gum and walking at the same time.
We got to do that because the people that are going to be affected the most are those that are going to need the most, those that are the impoverished, those that live in poverty. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more with our special guest coming back to you all, David Jordan, and an expert on this matter of field coming from AGAPE, nonprofit organization that deals directly with that.
We'll be right back.
He'll be with us.
What? Right here on Funky Politics?
Right here on Funky Politics right after this. Y'all stay tuned.
R&R on Sports.
Former NBA basketball player, Brother Mario Ellie. Welcome to R&R on Sports.
Pleasure to be on here with you guys, man. Thank you guys for having me.
It's R&R on Sports.
Welcome back to Funky Politics, powered by the Kudzukian Network. I am DC, sitting here along with, my longtime partner in crime. What did I say, partner in crime?
I don't commit any crimes. I don't do anything wrong.
Spoken like a true lawyer. So, but anyway, Doc Ward here sitting in with us. And on today's program, we've got a wonderful gentleman who's joined us to talk about some of the work that they do from a local perspective, but also looking at it also from a national scope. David Jordan, the CEO of AGAPE Child and Family Services. Welcome to Funky Politics, David.
Thank you. Good to be with y'all today.
Good to have you here.
Fantastic. Hey, let's talk a little bit about AGAPE. Share with our listeners what it is that AGAPE does. I know the term, but can you share with those folks exactly what your mission is?
Oh, you bet. We are AGAPE. The word itself means love.
Right.
Yes.
We're a faith-based, Christian-based organization. This is my 25th year as the CEO of AGAPE. And for the last 10-plus years, we've gone deep in communities around poverty and poverty reduction. And so really trying to help come alongside of our families, very specifically in Fraser, Whitehaven, and Hickory Hill. And we're in apartments and surrounding area. We're driven by the voice of our families. We do it through what some people would call a two-generation model, serving both parents, both children. So it's a whole family, whole community focus. We've got 100-plus partners and other groups, churches that we partner with. And we're really working hard to try to move the needle of poverty, measuring that. One of the dirty little facts is only about 3 to 5% of our families living in poverty or dire poverty in our city and community. True in lots of other urban communities. Only 3 to 5% ever escape out of poverty.
Whoa.
And so we're trying to move the needle by at least 1 percentage point a year, as little as that may seem, but one a year for the next 10 years. In the last 3 years, we've seen it move. The first year was by nearly 3%, second year by nearly 4%, last year This past year, 6.3%. While that's not nearly enough, we're encouraged by some of the movement, but there are some huge systemic, institutional, and other matters that are barriers to our families. But with a lot of work and effort and focus, advocacy, churches in the center of that, we're seeing movement.
You know, David, I listened to your to what you just said about the 3 to 5% of the people in dire poverty and how they. I mean, those are some man, that's some dire information. You know what I'm saying? How would all of these major nonprofits, not only just around our city but around the country, that folk that are just really laser focused in on really trying to uplift, should we have started this maybe after the Johnson years when he tried to introduce the Great Society programs, or is that a part and parcel of some of the problems we're having right now? Some of those types of programs.
Yeah, I mean, the programs and a lot of nonprofits, and there's a lot of giving that goes on in Memphis. You know, we're one of the number one, number two top giving communities, and so there's a lot of good going on. With all that said, there are policies, there are practices, there are institutional matters that are built, frankly, to keep our families in poverty. And so, a simple example, if you have 2 or more children and you're in poverty, there is literally no way on your own to be able to get out of poverty, just the cost of child care alone. And so the system is built to, I use the word intentionally, escape. I mean, you really have to escape out of poverty. And so there are significant systemic matters standing in the way of our families desiring, wanting, and even beat down, trying to get out, even trying to find some sense of hope around poverty and getting out. And so our work is very much on the ground. We're with our families on the ground, connecting relationally, but we're also working at a much higher level, trying to connect with as many systems that are in play to help our families move and escape out of poverty.
Okay, so let's just put a benchmark right there, because what you just said in that last minute is the essence and probably the most important thing we've probably even heard about poverty. It's not something that you can work your way out of, which is usually what you'll hear politicians and other people utter all the time. Poverty based on the system and the system of finances and people not being able to meet those financial goals to even provide for themselves is in essence a concept from which one has to actually escape. Not work their way out of, but actually escape, meaning things have to be put in place for them to move away from it and get out.
Yes, that's right. So I mean, we've got 400 years that connect to all of this, and so this is nothing new to all of us. And so we've got to frame it and see it right. Yes, there are personal responsibilities and things all of us have to do, but my goodness, there is a system built to not let you out. And so we're working hard around the systemic matters as well as walking alongside our families on the ground in a very relational, personal way.
So David, what you just said was something that we don't often hear from white males or white females in our country, our community, and that is that the system is built to pervade this type of poverty, right, Doc? Is that? I mean, you just laid it out there.
That's what I heard.
And let me say, it's got to be your Christian-based belief that all God's children we're all alike, right? To be able to say that and stand on the word, and that's what I'm talking about right there. Exactly. So to hear you say that, man, I tell you, that's a relief to me, because sometimes we have people in our society that want to blame you and I and some others for being impoverished because of something that we did or something that somebody did before us, right?
Yeah. We often want to make poverty about about morality.
Yes.
And yes, that you did something wrong. And yes, we all get stuff wrong, but we're talking about a system that is set up in this kind of way. And so, I mean, we look at redlining. We just go on and on in terms of all the system matters that have been set up and remain in place. It just the matter of poverty it reshapes itself and shows itself in different ways in terms of the system approach. And so you got to first call it out and you got to say, okay, this is what the problem is before you can ever really start dealing with the problem. And if you make it always about the people and you've done something wrong, then we continue to miss the real problem.
So you take what you just said and what we've just discussed about poverty and how it comes about. The concept of it is not something that you fall into necessarily by your own doing. And you overlay that with the crisis of coronavirus that we are experiencing right now, with the people that you serve and with those that are impoverished across the world. How difficult does it become with this added issue for folks like your constituents, and actually those who are impoverished are the world's constituents? How difficult does it become for those who are the underserved to really find a way through during this time?
It's a great question. And so what I think a time like the coronavirus, the COVID-19, what it does is it really illuminates the injustices and the systemic matters, even frankly at a larger level. So take, for example, we've served about 1,500 families in the last 3 years. We're actively engaged with over 500 families right now in Fraser, Whitehaven, Hickory Hill. As of this past Friday, 421 of those families are worried about and have real concern, and even say, I don't have food on the table. Where's the food going to come from? Well, most people would say, yeah, I'm with you. I'm running the Kroger's and I'm trying to find meat. But no. The matter is far larger than that. In our communities, we have people that don't have a grocery store within 3 miles of where they live.
Exactly.
And so you have the matter of food and injustices around food and available quality food for those living in poverty and impoverished communities that we don't see or hear about. And so we try to kind of throw that in as my own experience of, I need to get some more meat, or I need some more chicken, or I need some more bread. The issue is far deeper, far wider, and it just illuminates the matter. You have public school systems, and I understand Superintendent Ray and all other public school systems shutting down because we do have to honor social distancing. What it illuminates is that our kids are not only behind, generally speaking, in school, and generally are going to schools that are the underperforming school in their community. Right. Now the educational divide, widens because of the digital divide. And so we have 359 of our families that say, of the 500 we're working with, that we do not have either the needed device, computer device, and or connectivity to be able to engage in and receive meaningful educational support for our kids while they're out of school. So while not all, but the vast majority of our kids are behind educationally within a system that's not supporting them deeply well enough, and now the divide grows even deeper. So, I mean, those are just some of the examples, I think, that the COVID-19 illuminates the great divide and puts a greater light on the injustices that our families are having to live in.
So basically, the children become hungrier.
Yeah.
They become they're in a system now that even though they're home, if mama and daddy is essential and they still have to go to work, then that child during the school hour is not being supervised, and you may have a 9-year-old taking care of a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old.
And this is funny
God help
politics.
us. Yeah. God help us.
But the other things that you've also talked about too is that if you have children that have certain needs, if they're in IEPs or have different educational plans because of their based on their ability to learn and comprehend, they're not getting served in a manner that addresses those plans that they have, 504s and whatnot. But at all of this, before we've even talked about access to treatment for children and parents that may contract coronavirus.
That's right.
So before we even get to an issue of the virus itself, just the effects of it on the community in terms of social distancing, they are already behind in the most essential needs.
Yeah, our communities are already social distanced from our impoverished communities.
Wow.
And so we that's been
Absolutely.
in play for a long time.
Sure.
And so again, I think what it just does is it puts the light on and illuminates even larger, these very matters of injustices. That's
Wow.
exactly right.
So organizations like AGAPE, understanding what we're going through and knowing that with, poverty has been around before coronavirus, affects more people worldwide, and will affect more people worldwide probably even when coronavirus becomes controlled. But what's your organization? What are some solutions that you all are trying to work through that you're hoping are going to catch on, expand, that can help those who are underserved find their way to success? So
conversations like this, I think it's important to see this matter as a systemic matter, and in a coronavirus, the COVID-19 is just giving light on it in a brighter way. There's very practical ways of folks saying, all right, I've got 421 families right now that say I'm hungry. Okay, I want to help support. So already have a mechanism with food distributors and being able to use Uber and the Uber-like to be able to take and have food delivered directly to the door of our families. And so that's in place. And so, I mean, there's a cost. We're projecting right now that's $168,400 for us to be able to do that for a period of time for our families just around food. For folks who are saying, how can we help with this educational divide, this digital divide? Right. We've got 359 families saying we don't have everything that we need. And so we've quantified that is $125,650 is what just our families need. Now, there's things going on with Shelby County schools and other school systems, which is great. And so we're trying to partner, and we are partnering with them around this digital divide. And we're saying, okay, with additional funding, we will ensure that devices get in the hands of our families. They'll have connectivity, and they'll be able to connect to educational resources. And so those are just a couple of ways that folks can say, here's how I can help and how I can help right now for the individuals and families on the ground in terms of their immediate needs.
David, real quick, I'm glad you hit on that digital divide piece. One thing I think is important, there are cities in our country that have the 5G capability running through the entire city. Right. Why is it that the city of Memphis and other cities that are in underserved communities that have these compacts with, I don't want to call the names of the companies, but they're out there. Why don't we have the same service that can run through those zip codes that we know? I mean, we know that they're impoverished, at least through those with free Wi-Fi. Why can't we do that, David?
Again, I think that the opportunity in this moment is to be able to see the problem, cry out about the problem loud enough, and say, all right, we've got to solve these kind of things because they're solvable. Other cities have done it. You're exactly right. So why are we not doing it? There's a whole bunch probably underneath that. But here's now a moment for us to be able to try to step into that.
Yes, sir. David, hey, look, we appreciate you stopping by to talk with us here on Funky Politics. The work that you're doing, we consider that to be hard work. Not hard work, but hard work. Keep it up. Let me ask you this.
Well, hard work is hard work.
Exactly.
Because there's no, you don't get the same level of praise about it. So nobody's in a rush to do it, but it's definitely sincere.
It's definitely needed. David, give me a website, because you all are a nonprofit, right? So I'm sure there are people out there listening that would love to sow a seed into what you all are doing. Is there a website, an address, a phone number they can call? I know you probably all, you're essential. So I'm sure you all are not off pretty much, right?
No, we're on. So we've got 120 staff, and we're at it and going at it harder than we ever have. So yeah, we're on. So I appreciate it. Our website is AGAPE, AGAPE, means love, all one word, agapemeanslove.org. You can call our office number at 901-323-3600. You can go on social media and find us, Agape Means Love or Agape Child and Family Services in Memphis. Wednesday is our 50th anniversary, and so we'll be launching and talking more and more about that. I appreciate this conversation to help raise that up. But our 50th really is being used, and we're trying to use it for the sake of our families right now. So thank you again.
Hey, let me tell you something, David. We support Agape Family and Children's Service. You all hang in there, and we'll get you back on this program real soon, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be right back with more Funky Politics.
I ain't scared of you, mother.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So stay with us. What's your grind set? And if you happen to miss some of our episodes, make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set, on the Kudzukian Network. Kudzukian.
Who you with? Yeah. Who you with? Yeah. Who you with? Yeah. Who you with? Yeah. I'm with my clique. I'm with my clique. I'm with my clique. I'm with my clique.
We're back with Funky Politics, Who You With section. I need to talk to these folks. Who you with, Doc?
Man, it doesn't matter if you're a millennial or if you are, I guess our producer is also a baby boomer or something like that.
Oh, Lord. No, baby boomer, they 75, ain't they?
Something like that.
Lord have mercy.
But apparently something about this particular rendition appeals across the age ranges, man.
Man, I get down with this Who You With.
Parents and children can jam to the same thing. Who you with in 2020?
I know what I ain't with. I ain't with this coronavirus. I ain't with that.
Coronavirus is not on the ballot.
No, it's not on the ballot. But now
technically, it's not on the ballot.
Technically, it's
but
not on
it's actually it is the ballot. Really,
was there something
it's
we
going
wanted to
to
say about
change
that?
the ballot.
Was there something
it's
we
going
wanted
to
to talk about?
change the ballot completely.
It's going to change the balance.
It's going to change the balance of the ballot. It's going to change how the ballots are distributed. It's going to be changed how they're counted. Coronavirus has taken over. We got a new crown here in the world, and it's called coronavirus.
Corona.
Yep.
And
At least for this year.
And you know the funny thing about it, the first time that we're actually talking about mail-in balloting across the country.
Yes.
I mean across the country, they're talking about mail because
strongly suggested by Democratic presidential candidate
Joseph Robinette?
Joseph Biden. Yes.
Wow. So what is Bernie Sanders saying about it?
Bernie Sanders is saying he's going to debate in April. I don't know what he's saying about it.
But they've not said they're going to have yet.
Yes,
what the hell is that all about?
I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not going to even discuss it. But the reason why I said, just as you said, mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the Republican and the Democratic conventions in the fall, where all the support is galvanized, where people get together and really, really passionately and emotionally support and get behind a candidate? What's going to happen with the debates that are going to occur between the conventions and the election? And then what's going to happen during the election? The entire culture of what we're doing and how we're doing it is subject to change, especially since now we know that April 30th is our new deadline.
Yes.
And then given the predictions that were given to the president that at least 1 million people could die from this virus.
Well, he
that?
said 100,000.
Excuse me, 100,000 in the United States.
A million being infected, but 100,000 die.
Yeah.
Let me say this.
But wait a minute. If there are 100,000 people that are dying in the United States, given the rate of deaths to people that actually contract the virus, that means that the amount of people that would contract the virus would be in the tens of millions.
That's what he's saying.
So when you have a disease that affects the tens of millions of people, that changes everything. It changes how you do everything.
Change the entire
and it's probably going to change who you with.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about it. This president right here, I think, has solidified the fact that he believes that if he runs a clock out, we don't even have to have an election in November. Let me tell you guys.
Running the clock out. Tell me what you mean by running the clock out.
Let me tell you this. Number one, the Constitution says that you will have an elected president that will be sworn in on January 20th. Don't worry about it, folks. He got to go anyway.
But doesn't say who it is.
Well, no, but
we elect the president.
He will not be able to run the clock out, is what I'm saying.
Oh no,
because he feels like, this is for public. No, sir. We're gonna have an election. We had an election during World War II.
But when you say run the clock out,
when
you say run the clock out, do you mean he's going to be able to somehow assume power on the basis of the fact that we got a virus and there'll be delays in voting? Or are you saying run the clock out to the extent that people are going to rally behind him?
No, delays in voting.
What do you mean?
Delays
that's not going to happen.
Delays in voting.
No, that's not going to happen.
I think he's going to cheer on the Dear Leader piece, and that's not going to happen.
No, we're going to have an election. We have to have an election.
We're going to have to have an election.
That's required.
So all of you all out there who are afraid right now that you're going to get him for another 4 years regardless, that's not the truth. Hang in there.
Well, wait a minute. Some people might actually support the president. Don't say you're afraid.
I talked to 3 of them yesterday.
Yeah, so there may be some people that actually support him. But because for me, the president is the president. It's an individual. My concern is that we will have an elective process when we're supposed to have it. And then we will have a president whoever's chosen from that process will be elected and put in office on January 20th at 12 noon as the Constitution provides. That's my concern. I want to make sure that we have a fair process leading up until then. And I think that's what folks like Stacey Abrams is really, really getting into right now with Fair Fight, trying to encourage and be that other voice in the room when state leaders get together and determine how they're going to go through the election process.
I saw a poll the other day that said that Elizabeth Warren, when she's on the ballot with Joe Biden, there's a 52% chance that they will be elected. With Kamala and with others Klobuchar, there's only a 50% chance. Now, that tells me something right there. I'm really not I like Elizabeth Warren, but can she work within the confines of a Biden administration? I probably could. He does solve one problem. He said, I'm going to have a woman on the ticket. Not a black woman. He said, I'm going to have a woman on the ticket. And so
He didn't say black woman?
No, he didn't say black
because
woman.
people tend to believe that meant black woman.
No. He said, I'm going to have a woman on the ticket. And so you got her. I mean, I think people could rally around Elizabeth Warren, a Biden Warren ticket. I believe that. Honestly, I believe that. I wouldn't be opposed. I would take her over Kamala.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Kamala, whatever you want to call it.
To me, I'm not really even into the tickets per se.
I am. I'm
more into right now making sure that there's a process that's going to actually exist. It's going to be fair. Because right now, even before there was coronavirus, there was concern about the integrity of the elections. There was concern about hacking into the elections. You know, I just received a call today from my son's school about how the lesson plans that are coming, their whole computer system there has been hacked. So there's going to be a lot of hacking going on as people are at home and,
I tell you what's
and rely more on computers. So I want to make sure, first of all, that there is a clear process that we have in every state to select the president, and that process has as much opportunity for the best of integrities to be integrated in it before we get into any particular running mate that he's going to have, because I think he's got a lot of people to choose from. I don't think it should be just restricted to those women who ran for president. There are a lot of women leaders out here. There's London Breed out there in San Francisco that's got a whole system of people that she's handling very well. There's Keisha Lance Bottoms got a system she's handling well. There's Lori Lightfoot, who inherited garbage, okay? And she's handling it as best as she can. She's handling it well. There's Kristen Whitmer in Michigan, who's handling the situation well despite the disparities and all the name calling she's getting from the president, who's supposed to be leading this process. So I think it's a little bit too early to call one person against the other. I think we should first of all be focusing on election integrity, the main things that affect Democrats and Republicans.
You said about a process.
And
the
making
process
sure
is
that
in place.
And making sure that those people in all states have access to the polls, and that the polls have the right, well, let's say right information, but they are polls that we can say have the best of integrities about them.
Well, this show, Funky Politics, has the best of integrity, but I will say this also, that there is a process in place, and it's called a primary. Yeah. And every state has a primary to put forth their delegates for the convention, right? So now with all of these states, all of the states knocking back or pushing forward those dates, those primary dates, let me ask you this. Does Joe have does Joe have a message out there that's resonating right now? Because he's been very, very quiet lately. Tell me what's happening with.
Yeah, he has a message. He has a message. Okay, I'm a better leader than what you're looking at and witnessing right now.
So you're saying he didn't have to do anything?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a policy thing, because we're not really talking about policy right now. If this was a policy based election, I guarantee you that somewhere along the line, Joe Biden would have been lost in the shuffle. This is an election that's based on restoration of our country into place where it was before Donald Trump got elected. Donald Trump is the referendum. Election's the referendum.
He's literally on the ballot.
He's literally on the ballot with coronavirus. They are twins on the ballot. So you're
trying to say that the team is Donald Trump?
Yeah, and I say that. And I say that without any disparity against him. I say that as neutral as I can say it. It's the referendum on Donald Trump. That's the way the Democrats have posed this whole election. That's what they spent the last 3 years doing with the impeachment and with indicting his cabinet members and other people that were close to him, with everything that's come out right now about the way he's handling coronavirus. All of that is about putting him and his leadership and his integrity on the ballot for America to decide, do they want 4 more years of this type of leadership, despite what the markets were doing before the coronavirus crisis, despite what benefits may have come out of the tax cut. Do you want the same type of leadership from the same individual? That's all they put forward. It's not even about a
one question and we out of here.
Yeah.
Election held tomorrow. Tomorrow being a Tuesday.
Tomorrow.
Being a Wednesday. Being a Thursday. Whatever. Sunday. Whatever the day is.
Right.
Who wins?
Joe Biden wins, I say, by a very slim margin, because right now, with the way that everything has been categorized with Donald Trump and the way that he has just gone off on the governor of Michigan, a state he won before and that he needs, he really needs. I don't know what the pathway to electoral college victory is with him if he loses Wisconsin, which he's losing, Ohio, which he's losing right now, Pennsylvania, which he's losing right now, and Michigan, which he's probably going to lose the way that he's acted toward Kristen Whitmer. So just looking at the sheer numbers of it, it's a close election. no pathway to him from electoral standpoint like he had with Hillary Clinton.
Tell you what, we'll be right back with a little bit more of Funky Politics right here on the Kudzukian Network.
Riffin' on Jazz.
I'm Howard Robertson, one of your hosts for Riffin' on Jazz. Riffin' is your weekly visit with friends where we dive all in to that classic African-American art form called jazz. So don't miss Riffin' with me and my man Melvin Massey every week on your favorite broadcast and podcast platforms.
Riffin' on Jazz on the Kudzukian Network. Kudzukian!
What's real, what's right, what's funky, and what is always around? Funky Politics, of course.
Yes, sir. You and I.
Powered by Kudzukian Network.
That's right.
And we're under a pandemic right now, right?
Yes.
The pandemic that we define as the Nova coronavirus
19
illness.
Yep.
And it definitely is a pandemic.
Yes.
But you know what spreads across 165 countries and according to the World Bank affects more than 734 million people? Poverty. So if we can, that's the other pandemic. So if the president can call coronavirus a war, metaphorically, we can call poverty a pandemic, actually, because it also affects the large numbers of people throughout the world.
It's killed?
It has killed large numbers of people throughout the world, and it promises to kill even more people until we begin to address, educate, and all work together to eradicate this pandemic called poverty. And given the conditions that we're under right now with this illness, they serve to exacerbate and illuminate poverty, because it shows us just how the least of these are really the least of these.
That's right.
When we're walking around trying to find out if we have, enough Clorox wipes on the shelf and toilet paper and paper towels, these are people that are just trying to find a way to get to the store. When we're trying to find out if we got chicken and meat and everything else on the shelves, these are folks that are just trying to find out if there is a way where they can even find a way to get some resources, and then where in their neighborhood they're going to even have chicken or meat to be on the shelf. Those that live in food deserts when we're squabbling over food choices, and those that don't have a way to employment when we're mad because we have to stay at home from our place of employment, and those that don't have a place for their children to be properly educated when we're upset about having to be at home with our kids being educated. That's poverty. That's the face of poverty. That's the thing that we have to work to eliminate, y'all.
My pastor said, look, some of us are worried about being able to get the mortgage interest rate and all of that stuff. He said, man, there's folks out there that ain't got a mortgage. They ain't got a place to stay.
Absolutely.
What about the least of thine? What about, and as in the Bible, so the common people heard him gladly. What about those folks out there, those everyday people out there who are probably living in a car or living on the street?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I know it looks difficult, y'all. It looks hard right now. I know it's not great for any of us. But guess what? It's worse for someone else.
And we can go on and on about that, but I want to do this before we sign off.
Shout out to David Jordan.
Shout out to David Jordan from AGAPE
Yes,
for
sir.
showing us and showing us exactly what we're going through. But the more important thing, and the reason why we even brought this up, is because those of us that think we're living in times that are hard and difficult for us, look over your shoulder, and you're going to find you're going to have somebody that's really impacted, not just by what's happening today, but they're carrying over the bad impacts from yesterday. And if you've got something extra, and we know you all do, those of y'all who stockpile, think about those. When you go to the store and you buy 3 hand sanitizers, think about giving one away to someone who needs
Putting it in a Ziploc bag.
In a Ziploc
and if you see
bag.
somebody on the street, living on the street,
there you go.
Give them hand sanitizer.
There you go.
Give them a roll of toilet. Why can't a pair of socks?
Or anything. Or if you don't want to go through that, organizations like AGAPE,
sure,
and you got the information, are there for you to help you get to those who cannot do it for themselves. Because as the good book says, inasmuch as you have done this to one of these, the least of these thy brethren, you have done it unto me. Well, I don't preach.
No, don't do it, Doc.
I don't preach.
Lord, don't do it now.
I just keep it real.
We keep it right.
And keep it funky, and hope that some way along the way, you will hear this and do the same. But until next time, we tell you to do that. And wash them damn hands. And we'll see you next time on Funky Politics.
We out.
Funky Politics. Recorded at Kudzukian Studios. Directed, produced, and distributed by Kudzukian.